I'm Valerie Remy-Milora, founder and CEO of Scrumptious Moms, and I'm here today with my dear friend Darrell Knoch, who is the author of Mastering a Healthy Self-Image. He's also the founder of True Wealth University, and as you'll find out, he's mastered quite a few other things already. Darrell, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much.
So why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about your book and really kind of where you're at, and let's start there.
Well, I retired 4 years ago. I've been in business for 35 years, and I had 4 people pass away on me, one right after another. And one of them was my mother, was the first of the 4, and one of them was my ex-mother-in-law, and she was really close to me. She spoiled me rotten. And so my mother was 91, so that I was getting ready for that. But Kelly's mother was only 80, and she had as much bounce in her step as I did, but she got brain cancer and passed away right away. So that really shocked me, and I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to chase money like I've done all my life. And so I went away, and I literally took about 2.5 years off. And at the beginning I said, I don't believe I'll ever work again. I missed out on some people's lives while I was chasing money. And so after about 2 years I said, you know, I feel pretty good now again. And I said, what am I going to do? And I said, I know how to take a young boy that grew up in the ghetto of Chicago, literally with a crushed face because I'd had an accident when I was 1 year of age, and I know how to take that very low self-confidence person and turn him into a very successful, very confident, but even more than that, very happy human being. And so I said, I need to help people learn that lesson. How do you take yourself from wherever you're at and make a really confident, really excited, really happy human being? And so that's why I wrote the book, Mastering a Healthy Self-Image.
Because this is a lesson that you learned.
It is.
Through many, many years of trial and error, and going from very humble beginnings to very, great success. But then, as you've just shared, understanding what the real value of success is and what the real meaning of a successful life is. Tell me a little bit. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, and you just mentioned that one of the first people that was kind of the catalyst for change in recent years was your mother.
Right.
And in your acknowledgments, the first person that you thank really is your mom, because she passed on some incredibly valuable lessons to you. Can you share a little bit about, tell me, who was your mom? Like, describe her to me, because I'd like to know her. I won't have the opportunity to do that, but I'd like to know her through you.
Well, at the age of 1, my older sister fell on my head and she crushed my face into the cement. We were on welfare, so we could not afford to get my face fixed, so I grew up with that face. And so the one thing that my mother did that really gave me a foundation stone was she always would say, you're very special. She would use that crushed face in telling me that meant that I was a special person. And so she also said to me forever, you have the ability to go anywhere in life you want. You have the ability to do anything in life you want. You're a special child. And so those constant reminders of telling me I was special and that I could do anything that I wanted to do in life really gave me a foundation stone. Having a crushed face, kids were no kinder back then than they are today. So that gave me a drive that even though my mother said I was special, even though that she told me I could do anything I wanted in life, it still gave me a drive of all of those kids that gave me so much grief for having a crushed face. I was bound and determined to show them that I really was going to be someone. Just like my mother told me, I could do anything I wanted, and I was going to show the world that I could.
So your mother never looked at you as anything but a beautiful child.
Right.
No matter what you looked like physically, she looked at you with love and believed in you. Tell me a little bit about your family. I understand you're the youngest of 7 children.
Yes.
And even though you've just said you had a loving mother who believed in you, I don't think that was the case with your father.
It wasn't. You know, my father came back home just long enough to get my mother pregnant, and then he took off again. And it seemed as if that when he was around, he told us all that we were lazy, we were worthless, we were never going to be anything. And so my mother would always, when he would not be around, she would say, "Don't listen to that. That's not true. You are somebody special, and you can be anything you want in life." And so she was always working to feed our minds with some healthy self-talk to combat his negative talk that he gave us.
So she obviously lived what she was telling you as well, in the way that she raised you, in the ways that she cared for you, even in her relationship with your father, I suppose.
Well, you know, they definitely did not have a great relationship. It was very strenuous throughout all of their life. But the one thing that she had is she was one of the kindest, caring person that I had ever met in my life. She really deeply cared about us, but she really deeply cared about anybody that she came across.
You talk a lot about the role of parents in your book and in terms of establishing a foundation. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, you know, that's really where we start building a foundation stone for another human being, is when we are in that situation, when we are parents to a child, you know, how we talk to them, how we interact with them, what we believe in that they can do, and how we tell them that here's what you have the opportunity to do. That really molds that child right from the very beginning. You know, they say that a child really is molded in the first 4 years of their life. And so even the things that they hear around them, you know, the television, you know, the radio, you know, movies, whatever is going around them, even though you're not necessarily intending for it to go into their head, you know, your subconscious lets it all in. And so I really believe that we have to really rethink the way that we live our lives when we have children. And we have to think about what kind of self-talk do we have with ourselves, and what kind of conversations do we have with our children, because that really molds their life.
So did you ever hear your mom say anything about the situation that, I mean, you lived in very poor conditions. You're the youngest of 7 children. You were on welfare, I understand, right?
Right.
Did your mom ever make you feel anything but wealthy in the way that she ran the household and in the way that she lived her life?
Well, you know, one of the things, you know, we grew up in the projects of Chicago, and so, you know, usually back then, and that we lived in a few different scenarios, but most of the houses were not in very good repair. So we knew that we were not financially well off, but one thing my mother always said is, you know, it's a little bit different, but she said, we may not live in a great house, but it's going to be clean. And so, you know, she was a really clean person. I mean, she cleaned right down to the corners of the house, and she said, you know, just because you don't have money doesn't mean that you don't take care of your life, doesn't take care of your body. You know, we can use what we have to the best of our abilities.
It's a wonderful lesson for sure. She wasn't defined by the money, her economic situation. The richness, the wealth that you had was in the love that she had for you and the way that she made you believe that you could achieve anything, regardless of your physical situation, in your case, regardless of your faith. She really planted that seed and nurtured it throughout your entire childhood, that you really could be anyone you could be. What do you think? I mean, so her words, her actions, the way she cared for you, the way she cared for your environment in which you lived, what is there like a little secret to that, do you think, or?
I believe there is. You know, there's an old saying, and it's more said in business situations, but it is equally as important in your home life as well, that you don't learn by what you're told, you learn by what you see.
Absolutely.
So if you want to be a good leader, as in a family unit leader or a business leader, you have to lead by example. If you want to have your children live a life that you've planned out for them, then you need to live that kind of a life. And if you say, well, this is okay for me to do because I'm an adult, it's not okay for you to do, they don't learn from what you say, they learn from what you do. So you're counteracting what you're telling your children if you're living something different than what you're expecting of them. So if you're looking for a specific action or a life that you're trying to build for that child, but you're living something different, you're not going to happen. You have to live the message you want your children to be.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of your accomplishments? Because I know that the last two are just two out of a long laundry list of many accomplishments in your life.
Well, I've been a driven human being. I've had a passion to own my own companies. I started my very first company when I was 24 years old. I had a daydream. I like to daydream, by the way, and I had a daydream, and I went out with the intention of accomplishing that daydream. I designed a product that we started to manufacture, and so I took that company national over the course of about 10 years and ended up selling that company. And then I had another opportunity to, with one of my older brothers, to start a software development company. It was for the orthodontic and oral surgery community. He had had a number of years of experience in that community, and I helped him take that company to 30 countries around the world. And so we did that for a number of years, and then I got involved in a couple of other companies. I'm a little psychotic, and so I can't seem to stay still for longer than just a few minutes, and so I have to get out and go back and do something again. We got involved in the real estate industry a long time ago, and we bought the Remax franchise. A partner of mine, we got to be friends, and we became partners. We bought the Remax franchise, and we got to the point where we were doing so much. We bought into the mortgage company, we bought into the title company, we bought into the insurance agency. I mean, we really became a huge company, and we taught seminars on how to buy real estate. We used to, I don't know if you ever heard of, years ago there was a company called We Buy Ugly Houses. And they would have a franchise where they would help people set up a company in their local area to buy houses and fix them up and resell them. And so we became a competitor of theirs. It was called 877 Quick Cash.
Did your mom get the pleasure of seeing you achieve the success that she had dreamed of for you?
She did. My mother passed away about 4 years ago, and that was the catalyst of me retiring. So she saw all of the success that I had. I used to teach seminars on real estate investing, so she got to come see me teaching seminars. She's been at every company I've ever owned over the course of 35 years. She has been at all of it and seen it all happen. So she did, but you know, she really taught me the lesson of that I cared more about my customers than I ever cared about the money. And that was a lesson that my mother taught me, to care more about people than you care about money. And so even though I was financially successful, it was the caring for my customers is what really made, in my mind, the magic difference.
So that is what you are achieving now, is making sure that your priorities are always about sharing your message and kind of really allowing your mom's legacy to live on through you. to touch people around the world.
I hadn't thought of it in quite that way, but that is a good way to put it. My mother was a wonderful human being, and so that I like that I'm allowing myself to let my mother's legacy live on.
Now, you said you set out to build these big companies in part because of what you experienced as a child. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I truly used money as my yardstick at the beginning. I really wanted to build a name for myself. I wanted to build a savings account that was large enough that made me feel successful. And so early on, that was my driving force. But I learned that I loved business. I just really enjoyed talking to people, helping them with solving an issue that they might have. And so as I got into it, one of the things that my mother was really exceptional in was she was very organized and she was very disciplined. And so she passed those qualities on to me. So my organizational skills really served me in being able to make things happen faster than the average person. But one thing I also like to tell people is all of those skills were learned skills. I wasn't born with them. I learned them through my mother teaching them to me.
Just curious, you're the youngest of 7.
Right?
What have your other siblings done with their lives? Have they gone on and carried that legacy out as well?
Well, not to the same level of success that I did, but I was the only one with the crushed face, and so I think I had more to prove to myself and to the world. They all had a level of success. I have 2 older sisters, and their success was raising their children. They spent more of their time being a mother rather than being a career person. So there's different areas of success. I happened to choose money as my yardstick at the beginning, and they chose some other things, but they all had a great level of success, in my opinion.
Same level of reverence for your mother, I suspect.
Yeah.
So she was able to just keep the family together and make sure that you all achieved whatever goal you set out for yourself. Yeah. And the goals were different, but the bottom line for her was that you followed it to your heart's content and make sure that you succeeded in whichever area you chose.
She only had a 9th grade education, so she didn't have the experience and life experience. I'm 57 now, so all of that was quite different, and so she didn't have all of the education to be able to do more than she did, but she did a pretty great job with what she had.
Is there anything else that you think moms who want to plant those seeds of greatness in their children should do, or is there any? I mean, you've told us a lot. I think ultimately the lesson is really lead by example.
Right.
Be firm in what your values are and have integrity and live by those. Is there anything else that you feel?
I think teaching your children, how do you decide what's right for you? That's, one of the biggest things in life that I've seen over the years is most people can't come to the conclusion of what is it that makes me excited? What is it that I want to pursue? And so if there's one thing that I could reach out and say is go through the process of helping your children learn how to make decisions, because that seems to stop a lot of people in life.
Well, and your mom obviously made some very bold decisions in the way that she raised you, that regardless of what her relationship was with your father and the relationship that he had with you, you weren't going to be defined by that.
Absolutely, and I tell people, I'm not proud of the fact, but I have filed for bankruptcy 3 times in my life over the course of making mistakes and getting back up and starting over again. And there's an old saying that was an action, that does not define you. Whatever you've done, we all make mistakes. If there's one thing, another thing I guess I might want to add is you don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to you and how much you can accomplish and give to the world. So that really is a great lesson that I've learned is, what's right for me isn't right for everyone. And so I compare myself to my abilities. There's lots of people that have done better than I have. Yeah, I've been very successful, but there's lots of people that have done better, but I don't compare myself to them and say I'm a failure because I didn't do that. I compare myself of, here's the goals that I've laid out for my life, and did I accomplish those, and did I do it in a meaningful way?
And with integrity, the way your mom taught you. So
Right.
I suspect that lesson was learned at home as well.
It was.
And your mother never compared you to any of your other siblings and said
Right.
you need to be, but always treated you, each one, as beautiful individuals. With a
Absolutely.
lot to give.
We always heard that we were special.
Right, well, it sounds like your mother was quite a special lady,
She was.
and I'm glad that you're doing what you can to carry on her legacy.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to
It
you.
was a pleasure also.